Hello, it's Toaster Party, and today I'm doing my second video about my return to Yu-Gi-Oh! So, it's been about 3 weeks since I started playing the game again, and I haven't had a ton of time to play because of the holidays. But I tried playing different decks that I had mostly put together for 3 straight matches and lost them all. That being playing with Pure Shadal, playing with Evil Eye Unchained. I just don't understand how that deck works. And then I played with Sulfur, and yeah, I lost that one too. I figured then that I should probably practice some of the decks that I don't know as well, and because I just got a few new Pendulum cards in, and heard about a lot of new Pendulum support coming out soon in upcoming sets, such as the Beyond the Pendulum Link monster, which seems pretty awesome, I decided that I would try practicing my Sulfur list. So, here's what I have put together. I have almost all of these cards now, except for like the one copy of Dragon Shrine, and I think that and the Chronograph Sorcerer, but I have the rest of the list. Currently, the extra deck has a lot of filler cards, noticing the Diabolos, the Mind Hacker, and Nightmare cards that don't need play. And then there's also Puzzle Minio, which I've seen some lists play and don't understand how the card is planned to work. I understand what it's supposed to be for, to allow you to access XZ stuff, but in practice, I've never seen how this card is going to come up. But that just may be because I don't know what I'm doing. And another thing is that I finally was able to get at least one copy of Fossil Sulfur Fancia for the main deck. And as of right now, I haven't really decided on a secondary engine to run in the deck. So I'm currently running it pure, and with as many generic pendulum extenders as possible. Well, let's move on to the games. So I decided, because I don't have a competent side deck for this, I would do a lot of best of ones, and it gives a good opportunity to test the openers against a variety of situations as quick as possible. So the first deck we're going to be playing is against Invoked Dogmatica Shadal. Yeah, this deck is pretty obnoxious, but their hand is pretty terrible going first, so they're going to Pot of Prosperity, getting 3 Nadir Servants. At least it's a very good card for them. They're going to be able to Disciple into sending off Apocalone, normal summon Ecclesia to get a search for Fleur, then going to pass it on to me. Oh, my hand, on the other hand, is pretty good. Going to Sulfur Elegance to get searches for things to both of my zones. Going to send Gracie off because I have an extra anyway. They're going to summon the Fleur de Lis, which is not really useful in this scenario because I don't have Ecclesia on field. I'm going to pen out every single thing that I can possibly because I know they don't have any interaction for it. Going to make a copy of Apollosa for 4 because I can't really clear the construct with what I have in my extra deck. So they're going to Chalice the Apollosa, but because it's linked to the Nightmare Phoenix, it's still protected. So they're going to deal some damage here, but I can still spend summon 2 to the 2 zones that are open thanks to Apollosa. So all I have to do here is summon Gracia, get the field spell to field, giving a negate onto the Jackal King, and then just start clearing in for damage here. All I have to do now is link everything I summoned from the extra deck away for a Crusadia Knight Avermax, which at this point I don't think they have a cleared out to. They're going to go for Meltdown, which is a very good draw for them, but they have also Forbidden Chalice to negate the Jackal King, which would surely have stopped the Invoker. They're then able to go into a copy of the Invoked Agoids, which cannot clear the Crusadia Knight Avermax because it is not targetable. So they're going to try swinging into it, but Avermax has a second ability that allows it to double its attack, well, to take the attack of the monster that is swinging at it. So from here, I'm just kind of clearing my zones, drawing additional stuff, but doesn't really hit anything that's going to make it any easier to just win the game from here. But I already have enough damage from here. All I have to do is clear the one monster they have remaining. But all I have to do is just win from game. Here we are with game 2, and this time it's versus Gravekeeper Dragoon. This particular game showcases a specific problem that the deck has, that being Dragoon. So we're going to start off by going into the Master Cerberus, getting us a search for the Jackal King. Our hand's actually pretty terrible right now because we don't have access to any good scales. All we have to do from there is tribute summon over the Master Cerberus to normal summon Gracia, so now we at least have decent enough scales, so we're going to be able to pen summon for 3 going into IP, hoping that that'll be enough. It's sadly not enough, because what they have here is the Red Eyes Fusion, which lets them go straight into Dragoon. We didn't really have a clean way to out that, so they're going to attempt to pop it, but they can't because IP Masquerade gives it protection from card destruction. But from here, all they have to do is, well, keep the Dragoon from while having a negate on it. And because there's not a clear way to out this, we're just going to try not die as badly as possible. Sadly, that Necro Valley stops our Supreme King Dragon Darkworm from getting on field, so we can't really get very far into the extra deck. Because if we could get the Avramax on field, we could possibly clear the copy of Dragoon, but sadly because our initial Pendulum summon was so bad, we couldn't actually get that to begin with. So from here they make the Spiritualist, meaning that they will always have extra fodder for discarding to Dragoon's effect. They put in defense mode, which does leave some opportunity to be able to go into something bigger than its defense mode, but yeah, from here we make Gracia and we send off the Angelia to try getting into Kulia, but it gets negated. So we're going to try adding that back to hand, hoping that we can get something off of these draws, and that's not really anything. So from here we're just Pendulum summoning 1, going into the Musica. We're just spinning wheels at this point because there's no way we can out the Dragoon at this point. So from here they go into the ability of Dragoon to just burn me for lethal. Back with another game against Invoke Dogmatica Shadal, and our hand is somewhat decent. Our opponent's hand, on the other hand, is actually looking pretty good. They're going to start off with Pot of Prosperity, hitting 3 off the top, getting an Alistair. Oh, great. So they have access to their full engine, which allow them to go through their invoked combo lines, which allow them to go into a copy of Invoked Mechaba. From here, they are able to get back the Alistair and have at least 3 different disruptions. Because 4, because they have there can only be 1, which, unfortunate for me, my entire deck is made of fairies. So they're going to be able to shotgun the effect of Mechaba on the Supreme King Dragon Darkworm, which will prevent me from getting the Search of the low scale, so I have to extend to get a better scale. Sadly, I cannot try out the Angelia for a copy of Kulia right now, but that will be enough to remove the Mechaba. Unfortunately for me, they drew Fusion Destiny. They're going to Agoides first to kill the Angelia, and then they're just going to Fusion Destiny. So from here, I'm pretty doomed. I don't have an easy out for the copy of the Destroy Phoenix Enforcer. So what I do get is a card back from extra deck, so I'm going to be able to set some scales, but they're going to pop said scales. So from here I make a bit of a misplay. I should have put the Gracia in the zone instead to be able to tribute over, because then I could have searched up a copy of Kulia to field, which would have helped deal with the board a bit better, but I made a bit of a mistake searching the copy of the search spell, because you can only pop your own zones if both of the cards have different odd and even numbered pendulum scales. Important to know. So here we are against Fluffle Despia. Okay, that's a bit of an interesting choice, but I can sort of understand it. They're going to go first. They're going to go for Fright for Patchwork, getting a search of an Edge Imp and setting 1 in passing. Okay, I can clear this very easily. Going to Foolish Burial, sending off the Darkworm. They're going to call the Dragon Darkworm, which would be a problem, except that I have the Elegance in hand to set my zones. So I just have to get rid of the one I'm not going to use. Normal summon the Cutea, get the search for the Extender, link the 2 off for the copy of Musica to get an additional +1 I Pendulum summon everything back out, so I can then link those all off into an Apollosa, get the Angelia traded out for Kulia, go into attack mode, and negate the effect of the Edge Imp Chain, swing in for 1600. Could have sequenced that better so I got out more damage in, but I don't really have anything I really need to do here. They're going to Polymerization for Despia Quartis. They're going to then use the triple tactical talents and draw garbage, so they're going to scoop it up from here. Back with the final game here, and yeah, that's Border Stun. In the year 2021, Border Stun. Okay, so they're going to start off, they're going to Pot of Desires, drawing into another Pot of Desires, not really a great hit. They're going to make Thunder King Ryo and equip him with the Power of the Guardians. Okay, let's see if I can clear that here. Going to get to send off the Dragon Darkworm and get to search out nothing, because there's guard text on the Thunder King Ryo, which prevents things from being searched directly to hand. They can only stop specific single special summons, so all I have to do here is summon out the copy of the Sulfur Cord that bounces spell traps and clear their monster. So from here, they're going to Dark Ruler no more, Pot of Desires, drawing them another Inspector Border type effect, then equipping another Power of the Guardians after Dark Holing my field. Lucky for me, I am able to remove that with a mirror effect of Pendulum summoning out the Jackal King and the bouncing Sulfur Cord. This is why it's important to play all of them. So from here, I just clear their board with the Jackal King and see if they have anything else I can do. So from here, they summon Banisher of the Radiance, Raigeki my board, banishing them, because apparently that's how that works. They're going to then get the Card Demise, drawing them 3 cards. Didn't really get like too many great ones. They have another Banisher effect and a Solemn Judgment, which is the bigger problem here. Lucky Border Stun is not a very big damage type deck, so I'm going to be able to send off a copy of, or summon Fancia, which allows me to get into some additional cards in the extra deck, but I can't really easily clear the Banisher of the Radiance because the Power of the Guardians is still on it. So they're going to clear the copy of Fancia. And something I haven't really realized from here is the fact that I do have it out to that card on board, just haven't accessed it yet. Going to Pendulum summon 3, but then I'm going to get Judgmented. It's at this moment where I realize that as long as there's anything on the board they can, or that is in a Sulfur Cord during the Pendulum summon, they can stop it. But what I did realize is that if I just summoned out Angelia, I can then just trade Angelia out for a Kulia. Kulia just removes both of the 2 problem cards as effect, and I just swing in for game. So we finished up with a 3-2 record on the night. Well, what'd I think? Well, I think that the deck does have some promise. It does still need a lot of work. There was definitely a lot of adaptability and recursion for games that went long. Specifically, an example within the videos that you could see what happened in the Border Stun game, where because of the pure amount of recursion and effects that are on Sulfur Cord cards, we were able to take it despite running out of resources because there's so many ways built in to get back into the game. And a con. When games don't go long, it's usually because the deck loses pretty fast. Note the Gravekeeper Dragoon game, where, because couldn't really do anything, all they had to do was activate Red Eye's Fusion, make Dragoon, and the game was essentially over. Which brings up another point. The boards going first are usually highly susceptible to single target removal, and are also generally not that strong. I mean, if noting the first game against Dogmatica Invoke Shadal, I believe, we made a copy of Apollosa that had 4 negates on it, and all they had to do was clear it with a Forbidden Chalice. We still ended up winning that game, but it does highlight a specific weakness that the deck has, that it doesn't put up a ton of variety of disruptions. And which brings us to one of the other disruptions that the deck has that isn't very good, the Trap. Sulfur Cord Musica is obnoxiously inconsistent. The card would be good if it wasn't so specific on when it would be good. Because it requires you to have Sulfur Cords in specific, and specifically odd and even Sulfur Cords in the zone, the Trap just doesn't always work the way you want, and you'll often be searching something else off of Gracia just because either the field spell or the search spell for next turn would just be better. On to more positive things, one copy of Fansia is enough to make the deck playable, but is still not enough to make the deck good. I feel as though splashing another archetype would be beneficial, but the problem is it would require said archetype to not need the use of pendulum zones to work, because Sulfa Chords are fairly reliant on their pendulum zones and putting Sulfa Chords in the pendulum zones. So I'm thinking that I could take it in a direction more leaning towards something like Pendulum Magician. I would need to get a few cards for that, of course, but I think the deck becomes a lot more viable once Beyond the Pendulum comes out, which would allow the searching of additional archetypes pendulum cards like Harmonizing Magician, or I believe it's Zephyr Nui, to be able to get additional negates on board, would definitely be a boon for the strategy. But that's all I have for today. Thank you all for watching, and if you would, please leave a like and subscribe. And I hope you all have an excellent day.